welcome to Corner Comics. You're mostly weekly. I was gonna say you're mostly comic weekly. Your mostly weekly comic book reading club. This is episode 35. If you're new to the show or you're just used to me doing the intro, my friends and I share a few issues with each other, and then we get together and we talk about those issues. I'm your host, Burkhoff. You can find me on Twitter if you want to see the issues before we talk about them for the week. I usually tweet out the covers. And you can also find us on cornercomics.net, where you can look at the show notes and see comic-related things that we write about. I'm joined by my friends, Russ and Emmanuel. Gentlemen, how are you, and where can people find you?
I am doing amazingly well. Thank you for asking. You can find me on Twitter at Walrus. That's at WALLRUSS. You can also find me on blacksuperherofan.com, comiccreatorsofcolor.com, and also on cornercomics.net.
Nice. I am feeling very much unassailable at the moment. And you can find me on Instagram at EM_MAN_YOU_EL or EmmanuelTheStory.com. You can catch me at either way.
Nice. It's Sunday again. We got $6.
Word.
I'm bringing 2 Image books. Both of them are number ones. So both of these are free for anybody on Comixology or on image.com, imagecomics.com. Tokyo Ghost, number 1, and Aphrodite 9, number 1. Both of mine sort of fit into the cyberpunk genre and are very much like Western takes on sort of Japanese futuristic anime stuff. Russ, which 2 books do you have this week?
Well, I went into the big 2 and went DC and Marvel. So I have Suicide Squad number 6, came out just recently. And I also have X-Men Fantastic Four number 4, which is the final of a 4-issue miniseries.
Emmanuel?
All right. So I did one of the big 2. I did DC, the Multiversity, Pax Americana, issue number 1, 2015 run. Also, I went a bit obscure, Boom Comics. I haven't heard much about them, so I did a little bit of digging. And Boom Studios. It is Once and Future is the name of the comic. This is issue number 9.
Yeah, I think you guys went all current. Mine are several years old.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's
I guess
fine.
the Multiversity Pax Americana is a few years old.
It's
Yeah.
5
Yeah,
years.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is a good selection of books this week. I guess we'll just jump right into it.
Yes.
We'll get into my first pick, Tokyo Ghost number 1. This is by Rick Remender, who's probably one of my favorite writers currently in comics. He did, in terms of like the big 2, Marvel. He did Uncanny Avengers. He wrote that run, and Axis was an event that Uncanny Avengers sort of led into, and it was I think it was 6 or 9 issues total. It was a pretty big event. Effectively, all of the superheroes got polarized, and they were like their opposites, and it was pretty interesting. But this is an independent creator-owned book that he did for Image called Tokyo Ghost. It is very much a commentary on sort of our relationship with technology and where humanity is headed. What are your guys' thoughts?
I
Okay.
like it.
Oh, please go ahead.
I like it. It brought up a lot of questions. I didn't know if I would like it initially. Halfway through, I started to like it. Initially, I'm like, oh, this is crap. So I went from feeling like it was crap to actually liking it towards the end. I like the futuristic, this dystopian advertisement. People are all technology. They're subversed, or they're pretty much just having their whole life in technology. One of the main characters, the strong arm, he does not leave his face from the screen or pull his face from the screen. I liked that at the end. Towards the beginning and middle, that really annoyed me. I wanted to know more about this character. Was he a pawn? What's going on with him? But at the end, you get to see him actually come out of it and his plight, so to speak. The narration, I thought it was another character at first, but then that character died, so it wasn't him, it was the woman. So that was okay. It took me a while to get me warmed up to this book as a whole. I liken it to kind of Altered Carbon, the Netflix show.
Okay.
How the advertisements are in your face. It's kind of a psychedelic vibe to it. Even though the art itself is grimy, you could still see how in this future or in this world, things are very colorful and psychedelic because of the holograms, because of the technology, but you still have outliers like the Dunes. You still have these people that will eat human flesh off of a whim. So it was interesting. This was very interesting. I did not expect to like it as much as I did at the end.
Okay.
There's plenty of murder for you, Russ.
Yeah, you're right. So I wrote in the show notes, Cyberpunk GTA almost anime.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how long it took him to draw this, the artist.
Oh my God.
There's so much mother friggin' detail.
Yes.
Right. It reminded me of a way of some like heavy metal or Ralph Bakshi, and that you can look at what's supposed to be looking at, but there's all kind of other shit happening on the screen that's fucking distracting. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, this shit is so much shit. It was distracting from the story. Like I just stopped, and then I'm like, oh yeah, what was the story about? I have to admire the detail of the art, and every little wrinkle and ab cut, and you see a guy driving on a motorcycle, but you look in the background and you see people are gondolas, right? And behind them you see factories, right? And to the next of it, over the edge, you see people working on cars, and then you see a big butt woman with this is all one shot, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, stop. Right? Can you just tell me the freaking story? Right? I feel like if you just like cut half the panels off and just showed that would have got the story across. Yeah. Now I have to admire the art, even when the guy who's looking at a video game thing, all of those things that he's looking at, you can see. Mm-hmm. There's close-ups on that. So I couldn't follow the stories. It was some, guys, eyes hanging out, snaggletooth, dying, scraped on the concrete, all of that. This needs to be more. You know what? Remember when MTV would do those crazy little animated series?
Yeah.
Right? This was that.
Yeah.
Right? To me. Right? It was great. There's a bunch here. Right? But the story, I felt like, was really only about 6 panels. Everything else was, you know what I mean? Everything else was beautiful as fuck window dressing. Detailed as fuck. I won't say beautiful. I'll say detailed as hell window dressing.
All right.
Like the world like if you were designing a world and say, okay, now all you writers can write in my world, and you do this to design the world.
Yeah.
50 different writers could have stories in this world and they could work.
Oh, easily.
And this is just based on the art, right? I have no idea if the writer envisioned all of this, but the mother friggin' artist drew this shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I found that it didn't satisfy me story-wise enough, right? I felt like it's really a very short story, right? That was in a long and very friggin' detailed. Like you could just not read the word balloons, and there are a lot of them, and just scroll through the imagery and it's a feast,
Yeah.
right? Am I the best art in the world? No, but there's so much detail here. You could just each of these panels, you just make an art book out of these,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But as far as the comic and the story, I felt like it was 75, 80% detailed art and 20%, 15% story, and then whatever else is left over, who knows?
All right.
So, so I would say, as a one issue, maybe you could read it. Don't buy it. This is something I think you need. This is one of those. If this is in a graphic novel, you got to read it in chunks and you got to reread it. This is one of those type of things. This isn't say, here's a great issue. You're going to blow someone's mind. They need to be high in order to properly computate and absorb this. That's my thought. Did I enjoy it? At certain parts, I did enjoy it. But as a whole total book, what I follow up, I didn't feel like it. If I'm there for the art, though, if I'm there to be just, and this is in a comic. So if it was on a big screen, if I had my VR goggles and the art was like this, I would roll with that, right? And scroll over to the next. But as a comic, I felt like, and a lot of heavy metal stories do this too. We got so much going on that the story, but I felt in a lot of heavy metal stuff, there's more of a story than there was here. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Manuel, what kind of rating would you give this? Buy, read, pass?
Out of a buy, read, or pass, I would go for a read. Like I said, initially didn't really like it, but towards the end, it won me over. Not too much where I would buy it, but I would definitely read another one.
Okay. Yeah, I had heard about this book and I was already a fan of Remender's writing, so I just picked up the graphic novel. So the first trade paperback is the first 5 issues, I think, and it's only 10 issues total. So there's 2 trades that you can pick up, and it completes the story. I guess there's more to this world, like you were saying. Like he definitely set up like all this other shit that's you could sort of meander on for books and books. But yeah, two trades. This particular book tells the story of Led and Debbie chasing Davy Trauma, who's the guy with the arm that has the video game controllers on it, and he's able to like hack into other people's brains and control them and stuff. And
with the NES controller.
Yeah, well, NES and Atari. It's got an Atari joystick on his elbow. And so, yeah, this is the last sort of job that Debbie and Led have to do before they're free of their corporate overlords. And so it's like this big job. And yeah, I don't know. It was a buy for me, obviously, but I could see where just as a single issue might not be worth picking up. However, because it's free, I would recommend picking it up and seeing if if you're interested in it, then maybe taking a look at the other issues.
Okay, so for the graphic novel or the collection, I would definitely say read.
Okay.
And since it is free online, and we'll put a link in the show notes, definitely read it. But if I were to say, if we didn't have the digital world and you didn't have,
and you just picked it up off the rack.
Yeah, I'm saying, wait and see a couple of issues. Maybe it'll be something.
Okay, that's fair. All right, getting on to my second issue. This is Aphrodite 9. This is effectively a Western take on Ghost in the Shell, sort of mixed with like La Femme Nikita or something like that. She's an android assassin, and every time she does a job, she forgets. She loses her memory of what happened, and her android body goes into full instinct mode, and she has to survive long enough to be picked up by this other guy, Butch. What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
Want me to go? Okay, I'll go.
Right.
Lady Bloodshot. I don't think it's Ghost in the Shell because Ghost in the Shell, she was actually a human being to begin with.
Okay.
Lady Aphrodite is made of biological parts, but she didn't have a childhood. You know what I mean? She didn't have a life that I can see anywhere in this book. So to me, she's an android with fleshy bits. And the fleshy bits are kind of banging. And she makes sure you can see them. There's all kind of butt crack shots and everything all through this book. It's definitely an image book.
It's a
You know
90s image book for sure.
Yeah. So I like the idea of it. It is not exactly Bloodshot. It's its own thing. I do have some issues with the art, but mainly because of the time it came out. It's actually just where it's supposed to be. So I felt like all the little words on the screen, the word balloons, seemed a little small for the page sometimes.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you want me to read them, well, can you make them readable? So I had an issue with that. But they have no problem with showing her panties and her butt crack and her, you know, fighting armored metal people with nothing but the scantiest clothes on, and the green hair is a nice touch. So visually, it looked good, right? You know, the shower scene was nice, right? I appreciate the eye candy. You know, you gave it, and you didn't make me wait long. Like another panel, another page, and more eye candy. Another couple pages, more eye candy. So if you're looking for eye candy, this delivers consistently. The story was interesting enough. Actually more interesting than I expected from an Image comic. Everything didn't always make sense to me, but then they had another butt crack shot, and I was like, okay, I'm okay again. But there's some good art here, especially for its time. I'm not a fan of the inking, but it could be the version that I have.
Okay.
Seems a little heavy-handed, but looks good. Interesting enough character, innocent, hotness, and yet know she hot, know how to use it, and yet somehow stay innocent at the same time. All those things are good. I watched this animated series.
Okay.
Again, would it work today? There would have to be some updates today. I don't think all those butt crack socks would follow the comics.
Right.
Right. The comics code would be like, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to make your ass go digital. But I think I enjoyed it. Right? Not, you know, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to read the next episode. But did I enjoy it? Did it give me my money's worth? Yeah, it gave me all that. I'm not mad at it. What do you think, Emmanuel?
I think this is a kid's fantasy, a boy's fantasy. And what they've done with where they lack in the art, I'm sorry, where they lack in the writing department, the story, they make up for in the art.
Okay.
Visually, there's a scene where this tower or this building is up in the sky, that's floating. That's a 2-page scene, and it is beautiful. So not only can they draw an attractive woman, which they've done panel after panel after panel, inciting and eliciting these young feelings for these young readers. Exactly. They do very well with actual art, with actual environment and the shading. When you look at the scientist or the guy that's helping her, they do a close-up of its face. It's nice. It's kind of a little bit more lines than I would expect or like, but it's kind of sort of detailed. I appreciate it. The guns, the background, everything is good. It's well done. But the story itself, I think the story kind of lacks. Visually, it's a feast, especially if you're a prepubescent boy. But as far as the story itself, she loses her memory 15 minutes after she does a job. Interesting plot point, but you got to give me more. You got to make me interested more. You've enticed me just a little with that concept, but give me a little bit more. Maybe that's going to go into the next issue. They'll expand more on it, But as of right now, the story that I was given doesn't really leave me wanting. It raises questions, but not to the point to where I want to go seek them out.
You can't have story absent of the art. I gave you butt cracks. But I mean, you can't. I'm just saying, you that leaves you wanting. Did I not give you? Were there not enough gratuitous, side boob shots for you? What is it that you're? I'm thinking if you can't just say what a story, but you gotta have. I gave you some art, right?
Yeah, you get it, it's art. Art is there, but and I use the term "but" loosely. But
But with two T's.
I don't know. I want more. I want more than just the shower scene, the green-haired woman that is very attractive. Thank you, but give me more substance. So, out of the
Butt
three
cheeks.
choices, the butt cheeks and the boobs, the two solid B's, I appreciate that, but you got to give me story as well. So B, S, and B. Let the story be sandwiched between the boobs and the butt crack.
Okay.
Out of the
Did you look deep enough?
Interesting.
Maybe you didn't look deep enough.
then the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old version of me looked deep. I definitely looked deep. All right, but out of the three choices, whether I'm going to buy, read, or pass, I think I would pass on this one. I think I
I'm
would
not offended
pass.
by that.
It just seems like one of those things that I would see in my Wizard when I was buying Wizard magazines.
Yeah.
I would look at the preview of the comic, get enticed visually, but not really want to explore it any further.
Yeah, I feel like that's sort of standard fare for Image Comics of the time.
Yeah.
I think Image Comics went heavily. I mean, Image Comics was built on the artists, right, that were leaving
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah.
So not the writers, but the artists, right? They wanted full control of their own thing. So you got more art heavy than you got story. So I think this is standard of that time.
Yeah.
But you do get the art. I'm saying don't buy it, but do read it.
Yeah, this one is the first of 4 issues, so it's really short. I haven't read the rest of it. I vaguely remember this when it first came out, and I just kind of wanted to throw it in there as something different. Originally I was looking through. I have the origin collections for Darkness and Witchblade, which are I think the first 10 issues each, and I was trying to find like one of those issues to bring and that we could talk about, but it's hard to pick just one random issue in that first 10 issue run of Witchblade or Darkness. And so I was like, well, Aphrodite 9. This is I think Dave Wohl was one of the guys that worked on Witchblade. And so I was like, this is, something that's similar. And it's also in the sort of cyberpunk vein of my first book. So that was why I brought it.
Yeah. I looked. So there is more than one series of Aphrodite 9. So after they finished this one, they did others.
Yeah, there's 2.
And then you got to figure there was Aphrodite 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So there are some of those other numbers that are explored in other Image comic books that still exist.
Yeah.
Because when you say she's an android, I never saw any android bits.
Well,
I only saw fleshy bits.
Yeah,
Is it only her brain?
Yeah, they do allude to her being created, but they
Test tube.
I want to say that it's issue 0. I think I put that in the notes where you actually see her being created like the first scene in Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, never mind.
So yeah, those are my 2 picks. I guess we'll go ahead and move on. Russ, your first pick.
All right. My first pick is Suicide Squad. Number 6 came out this year. In this, there's a whole bunch of new people in the Suicide Squad that were probably invented for this run, so you probably don't know most of them. But you do know Harley Quinn and you do know Deadshot, and they're here.
Yep.
And Batman is here. And I picked this because there's something about how DC does funny that sometimes I like, and I felt like this touched on that. That being said, what'd you guys think?
Manuel.
Sure, I'll go. I liked it. It was lighthearted. Oftentimes, when you have the Suicide Squad, they have death looming over them, so it's hard to be as lighthearted with that. But this was good. It has Harley Quinn, but it was funny not because of her. There is a scene where people kept disappearing on her, Batman, and then her cohorts, and she says, "Stop Batmaning." That was funny. But for the most part, this was good. I appreciated the art. The art is solid DC. Uh, and the story itself, this could have been a great just one shot. We don't even have to. Of course, there's some questions that arise, but we don't even have to go forward with what happens to these characters after this because this was this was sufficient. This sufficed. I do, however, just as you mentioned, might not know about some of these characters. I have questions about Kitty Chaos or Chaos Kitten.
Mhm.
Don't know who that is.
Don't worry,
There's Zebra
nobody does.
Man.
Zebra
Okay.
Man is actually old school and goes way back. Zebra Man is an old rogue made new again. But everybody else, other than the aforementioned two, they all only invented in the beginning of this run. So it's okay not to know them. But if
Gotcha.
you're interested, take a few
Yeah,
issues back and
this
see where they come in.
I have questions about just about every one of these characters.
That's good.
Zebra Man, Finn. So yeah, that enticed me to actually read on and maybe read another issue, see if they kind of go into detail about their background. Batman steps on the scene. It's a good time. Deadshot versus Batman. That's always interesting to me. I don't know why, but just that pairing, Floyd Lawton and Batman, they are similar in a lot of ways, but yet Batman is the better everything, the better archer, the better whatever,
Mhm.
hand to hand combatant, all of that. But Floyd Lawton is still a villain with the heart. Or if you can have an anti-hero, maybe you can have an anti-villain. I don't know, but Floyd Lawton's a good character.
Yes.
I overall, I would say this would be a buy. Yeah,
Russ is happy about that one.
Yep.
that's my take.
Um, so I really like the art. I love the use of comic tones. So that's a trick that's mainly used in manga artwork, where they do the like a lot of circles all put together, and it gives out the shadow.
Mhm.
Um, or sometimes it's squares or like hatch marks or things like that. The use of the comic tones in this is really good and something that you don't really see that often. So I really appreciate that, and I really enjoyed the way that this was composed. It's super fluid. The characters look really good. The color is excellent. Um, as Russ was saying, these characters are brand new for this run, and I don't know any of them. I have not been reading this particular run of Suicide Squad. Um, so to that effect, I tended to just gravitate towards Harley Quinn and Deadshot. I do like the new look of Deadshot. At least for this, this is the first time I've seen him in this variation of this costume. With the beard and everything like that. I thought it was kind of cool. Um, the comedy is one of the things that I definitely enjoyed about it. Um, Emmanuel mentioned the scene where Harley says, "Stop Batmaning." That was hilarious. There's also the scene where Deadshot grabs a puppy and holds it up and like almost like the gag of "You wouldn't hit a man with glasses, would you?" You wouldn't hit a man with a puppy. like, um, so I mean, it was enjoyable. I don't know if this is a buy for me though. This is a pick up off the shelf and read. But yeah, I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could buy it.
I liked at the end because they stole the Batmobile.
Mhm.
And Deadshot was like, "You want me to call you an Uber?" And Batman says, "You want me to call you an ambulance?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't get that sort of thing in comics. You know what I mean? In a lot of and I like, like Marvel in the movies has found a way to put comedy into the superhero movies very well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Better than DC has ever achieved, right? But I think in the comics, I feel like DC is willing to go there. There was a part in there that hit realism for me. That's something I may talk about later,
Okay.
right? And when Deadshot says, "I could have shot you in the one place you didn't have armor, and I
Yeah.
didn't." Doesn't that count for something? And that's like a realism moment, right?
Mhm.
It's a guy who can shoot kinetically in any angle, whatever, and always hit. And he could have shot Batman in the chin and fucked up his grill and never does,
Yeah.
right? Knowing that Batman is armored everywhere else, right? That's a realism moment, and that DC is willing to look at that, right? That's like, Daredevil's like, somebody shooting at Dare. You're not fucking bulletproof, dude. I could have killed you 15 minutes ago. Fuck your
Right.
kung fu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a way that DC is willing to not just make fun of themselves, but also make it more real, right? The reason it's not happening, what should have happened, is because a character is making a character inline choice. And I thought that was sort of a good point and a good moment. In addition to, I think the art was great. And I like the main characters. And they got a bunch of characters that you don't know. And if you want to know, and you don't need to know for this story, right? You don't need to
True.
necessarily know who they are. But if any of them interest you, because you get a little intro where they're all talking and doing their thing, if any of them interest you, hey, there's some stuff you can read that's right there for you. And there's the issue after this is already on the newsstands. So we get to see what happens next. Batman's not in that one, but it's still very good.
What's interesting to me is that Zebra Man can make shields. What about zebras?
Well, okay. Well, Zebra Man, I had to say it. Zebra Man is something you're going to have to read on. Zebra Man
Okay.
has been in the game, in the DC game for a while, right? He's not new. He's not, he's a high-tech scientist. He came out, let's see, I'm trying to see where he came out. Detective Comics number 275. Zebra Man was created by Bill Finger. Does that tell you how old he is?
No.
Right. Bill Finger is one of the people who invented Batman. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Oh.
Bill Finger is that non-credited guy,
Hmm.
All right.
right? There's a whole big movie and story on him. So he's been around since that time. And they found a way to bring him back, make him relevant and funny. But there is a wiki, a Batman wiki that breaks down everything about him, why, the who, and there's apparently been more than one Zebra Man. And he showed up in the Brave and the Bold animated series, right? He's mentioned in a Batman 66 comic, right? And he also made a cameo in the Lego Batman movie. So Zebra Man is in there if you know where to look.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you his story because this is not the place. If you think you might be interested in Zebra Man, jump on the internet. Let Google be your friend.
Does he have to hold his breath to use his?
I'm not telling you.
Oh.
Nope. Read. Comics are made. The whole thing is that, is this enough to make you, even if you won't read another comic, will you go to Google and find out more? Right? Each of these characters has a story and a history. And if any of them interest you, you say, look, you don't need to know them to know this story, but if you kind of like what you saw, I think this is, in the writing in that is well done, because a new person could jump on and enjoy this, right?
Yeah.
And say, oh, now I'm a little curious. And there's no pressure to buy another book, but they're probably all still at the comic shop in bags and boards, and you can just buy the whole run.
Yeah.
So I think that's I don't know what it takes to plan that in the writing, to say this book is in the middle of a deep story arc, and yet you can enjoy this and know nothing.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to the writer. So I think for me, it's a buy because it's a book I can hand to someone and they can enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we'll move on. That's my first book. My second book is X-Men Fantastic Four, number 4. This is the last in the 4-issue miniseries, at least I believe it is.
Yeah.
In the series, this is when Franklin is losing his powers, and the X-Men are coming up, and to the Fantastic Four. Say he's a mutant. He should be rolling with us. And then Reed Richards is like, no, I'm not down with that. And can we fight? And then Uncle Dr. Doom is like, I got you. I can help you out. But I'm also doing some mutant things on my own island. Stay off my island. And all these other things are happening. But this is the culminating issue. And I think it made some very interesting key points. So I thought I'd share it. And it's got Dr. Doom, and that's enough for me. So, fuck you if you don't like Dr. Doom. But go ahead. What do you think?
Looking pretty boss on the cover too.
Yep.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Emmanuel, but I am going to go first.
It's X-Men. Of course you are.
So I've been reading this. I have all 4 issues. I think we brought in was
The
number
first
2.
Might
It was another issue that we talked about on this miniseries. I really enjoyed it. I think that it was a nice end to what had been going on. So effectively, you have Franklin is losing his powers. They go to Doom because his dad won't help him, so he needs somebody that will take him seriously. And we find out that Reed Richards has been developing this device that is basically getting rid of mutant genes, or has the ability to mask the mutant gene. Spoilers for this issue. I'm going to get into some of what happens towards the end. But basically, Franklin going to live on Krakoa with the mutants and train under Xavier and Magneto is fantastic. It makes a lot of sense in the overall. And Xavier straight up tells Reed, I'm going to wipe your brain, and I'm not going to...
Xavier is fucking evil. He needs to be killed for real.
And he flat out tells him that in the Illuminati days, I would have erased your memory of me telling you that I was erasing your memory, but I am going to straight up let you live with the fact that I erased your memories.
Bitch.
And that is fucking crazy. This whole run has been really just really good in terms of like the overall lore of everything that's going on, because you've got the island nation of the mutants, Krakoa, and then you've got Latveria, which is an island nation, and what happens politically between these two is kind of addressed in some of the earlier issues. It boils up towards the at the beginning of this, towards the end of the 4-issue arc. And Doom has got his own Sentinels. I think they're called Latviathans, which is a crazy name for them. They look really cool. They look like big Doom bots crossed with Sentinels. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot here. This is a definite buy for me, but only because I had the 3 prior issues. It's kind of a hard sell on its own, and it drops a shit ton of lore and information on you at the very end. So I would say definitely a buy if you have the other 3 issues, or pick up the trade that's probably going to come out in, I'm sure, a month or 2. Manuel, your thoughts?
All right. So I like the art. The art is done really well, with the exception of a few panels where you can kind of see they focused on the foreground and not the background. They kind of skimped on a little bit of the detail, which is typical Marvel fashion. I'm not mad about it at all. I've come to accept it. So John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, I can definitely see. You got the scruff. There's been a lot of fan art about that. So that's who I'm seeing when I'm seeing Mr. Fantastic. I'm seeing him. Now, Dr. Doom. Typically, I can kind of see where he comes from in certain things. I don't see his. I know his motivation, but I can't really get with his perspective when it comes to this story. When it comes
Well,
to him,
come at me, bro.
okay. Uh, I like his even-handedness in that his sentinels don't just kill mutants; they kill humans and mutants alike. That he's just protecting Latveria. I get that, but when he's talking to his niece about how he doesn't the evolution of the species, how he thinks it all should be intelligence and not necessarily physical, how human beings are now mutants because evolution has created them to, I don't know. It was difficult to find his argument really acceptable. Talk to me about his argument with
Okay.
Valeria
All right. So
about.
I'll go.
Okay.
First of all, Doom is superior, right? I am Doom.
Okay.
Can we start with that premise? You with me there?
That's
right?
his mindset. That's his mindset.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, there's more than his mindset. It's reality.
Okay.
Okay. It doesn't need to be proven. Whatever you think is
That's
irrelevant.
the premise. We can go on.
All
We
right.
can go
All right.
on.
So Doom is Doom. All right. Now, according to the mutant way of thinking, all humans are outdated and irrelevant, right? And Doom will never be outdated and irrelevant, right? Doom is the kind of person that can rise from nothing, no powers, no ability, and take over the entire planet. In fact, he has been God on more than one occasion, right? That's irrelevant to a mutant power, right? If we really talk about the best in humans rising above, it shouldn't be about, that's like saying Captain America is irrelevant. He's not. It's not about mutancy. It is about your consciousness, your spirit, and your mind. That should be where human beings should be growing, right? Because if you look at Xavier as an example, that motherfucker evil, right? Let's put a rated R on this podcast right now. That motherfucker evil. We've seen it. We saw it here, right? He is not, if this is what the human beings are to become, Xavier and Magneto, we're fucked, right? Let's just be real about that. Do you really think they have a world outlook that human, regular, non-mutant humans can live in peacefully? Fuck no. That's not in their viewpoint. Their viewpoint is to wait it out. Let's bring all the mutants together, and then the regular people stop being born. Then we go back and populate their shit, right? The mutants have decided that regardless of your intelligence, your heart, you're capable as a person, your spirit is irrelevant to the future. Doom shit, and so I'm in agreement, right? If I'm in that world,
For sure.
that's telling me and my kids, unless my kids become mutants, they ain't worth a goddamn to the future. That's some bullshit, right? And mutants are like only mutants, right? And I'm not saying they haven't been persecuted. That's a whole nother conversation, right? But if you look at their overall plan, their plan does not include a safe place for human beings. Their plan does not include a way for human beings to contribute to the world. Their plan does not include a rogue intelligent like Reed Richards to be able to do whatever he does. He must be stopped. So when you look at Doom, Doom is a natural enemy to mutants, right? Because what mutants are trying to build, there's no place for Doom to exist in. Let's say in addition to that, they're trying to take Latverian people that are mutants away from Latveria, right? Like mutants have a right to take them because they're mutants. That's some bullshit. So if I'm going to talk about if I, in this world, and this, not 616, but in the world we live in, we talk about how people should move forward in the best of human beings, it can't be about a superpower. It can't be about the way you're born. It's got to be about who you are in your heart, your spirit, your intellect, and your drive. That is what great people that we believe are great in real life are. Mutants don't believe that. And so, of course, Dr. Doom is going to say, and remember that Dr. Doom's niece is smarter than Reed Richards, right? And this is a purely intellectual conversation. That's how they get down, right? Because she talked to Dr. Doom about subatomic particles, they could kick it, right? Dr. Doom respect her as a grown-ass person, as a grown-ass being for her intellect and her, right? And because this is how he respects people, right? Believe it or not, he ain't got no negative issues with any of Reed Richards' kids at all. You notice that? He ain't got no hate on them. They can all come and go as they please to Latveria if they want to come and kick it. Duma let them kick it. Parents can't, but they can, right? So you're saying that you think, and so that argument that mutants are the future really throws in the face of anything about spirit, about God, about consciousness, about growth, about intelligence. Throws all that out the window. Because if you look at mutants, a lot of them stupid as fuck.
Yeah, I think
and the ones that are in charge are apparently quite evil.
I think Doom's main argument is that mutants exist as a force to shape evolution.
Yes.
And if you are intelligent enough to see that, then you can act accordingly to make sure that your genetics end up continuing and adapting as needed, right? Because like he sees Valeria as a very intelligent girl, but he's going to, like you said, talk to her about it. And the one area that she's lacking is the wisdom, right? So she's got the intellect, but she doesn't have the know-how to use it properly. So he's shaping that to be like, okay, this is what you need to realize about the world, is that this force exists, and you are smart enough to see that it exists, and it is going to shape evolution on the planet. Therefore, you need to take steps to ensure that you're able to adapt, and your genetics in the future of humanity are able to adapt.
So, Emmanuel, you have more?
I just really needed a mouthpiece for his perspective.
Don't
because
fuck
I didn't
with
get
Doom,
it with that
dude. I
dialogue.
got you in Doom. And all things Doom, I got you. And all things
All right.
X-Men, Matt got you.
Most of it, yeah.
But do you agree? Do we agree that Magneto and Xavier are evil?
No, they're just doing what they need to do, man.
So it's okay to be there. So why they're evil is what you're saying. It's okay.
I think Reed's a little bit evil. I think he could have been. He could have gone full evil.
How a person raises his child is on him, right? That's not for anyone to intervene. Now, what did Reed do to mutants that made him evil? In any of these issues?
Well, all right. So it's implied. I don't know if it's either implied or explicit, where he has straight up used that device on Franklin to stop him from.
Yes. But I'm not reading word for word from the book. He's saying that what Reed has invented could potentially be an anti-mutant device. Not that it is, but because it could potentially be an anti-mutant device, I'm erasing your mind, bitch, and letting you remember what I did. Right? He didn't actually do anything wrong, and it's his right with his son. Right? You don't go. Professor Xavier doesn't go. If I got a mutant son, Professor Xavier don't tell me how the fuck to deal with my son. So, I do that shit.
Okay, yeah, but Franklin's already made the decision to go to Krakoa. He's training
now.
Well, yeah, but he's training under them. So a few pages before all that goes down, he's training there, and Beast is like monitoring his vitals and everything, and about like how his power is working and stuff. So clearly, they know that Reed has used this device on his son, and that it's going to be detrimental to mutants. So they're just taking
no. That detrimental mutant part. Hold on, that's not proven. Yes, the device is used on his son. That is going to be detrimental is a theory.
Okay.
It's not fact. It's not proven. You can't just jump to that, right? That device could potentially be used for that, right? And so what I'm going to do, because of the potential that Reed Richards do, is I'm going to fuck with his mind and fuck with his heart by telling him I fucked with his mind. You see the difference here?
The problem is still, yes, that's his son. And yes, there's his own autonomy there. But you don't create a device that alters the genetics of your son. That is
he didn't alter his genetics. He altered how it is observed. He didn't change Franklin. He altered how other people can observe him. He didn't take his mutant powers away. He didn't reduce his mutant powers. He didn't do anything that enabled him to not be him. He just altered so that the world observing him, the electronics observing him, couldn't see his mutancy. He masked it. He did not alter it. He did not fuck with his son's genetics. That's not true.
Well, here's the thing. The Codex, it says, and I'm reading it verbatim, I'm able to isolate the mutant gene of an individual and superimpose a ghost gene over it, self-replicating it until the entire body's DNA contains this. It is not designed to replace the mutant gene or disable it, though. Theoretically, it is possible to just cloak it with the human gene. So
it's a cloak.
Yes.
He created a cloak. And I'll admit to that. So, but he didn't do his son dirty by creating a cloak. You don't make him evil by creating a cloak. If I want to protect, if I find out my son is half white, I want to protect him because of the world won't see. They say my son is gay, right? Flamingly gay. And I want to protect him, right? So I do some things to keep him safe that may not be what a lot of gay people would like, right? But I got to worry about my son, right? So fuck you, because this isn't your family, right? I'm going to do what I feel is right as a parent to keep my kids safe, right? How I see it. That's my right. No human being has the right to intervene with that. I didn't change his fucking genetic code. I gave him a cloak.
Well, all right, so it's clearly affecting his powers, though.
No,
right?
It's not. No, and no. Because even though he's over there, it's not affected. His powers are affected because he used them all up creating fucking universes and previous issues. Right? No, that's not. You made that up. There's no words in any book anywhere that speak that. So no, you're not making up bullshit to make Reed Richards evil. You got to think this is family. This is what you don't get about when you're not seeing the beginning about family. If I got a gay son, say I'm black. If I got a gay son in a black neighborhood, he's gonna have a fucked up life.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is, right? So maybe I move to where an area where he's a little safer, right?
Okay.
I take him away from his friends and I move him somewhere else to a place that's a little more tolerant, right? I shouldn't have to do that shit, right? I should fight for my son's rights, right? Motherfucker is my family. I want my son to be fucking happy and have some fucking peace. So I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do, right? Because I'm a parent and I'm gonna make that decision. And it doesn't matter what anyone fucking thinks, right? I didn't change his genetics. I didn't get him a sex change, right? I gave him a fucking cloak. I'm not evil or wrong for that. It's my kid.
Okay.
I do this out of love. I'm Reed Richards now, right? I'm doing this out of love. It's my kid, right? And then you're going to say, I'm trying to destroy mutants? That's some racist bullshit.
All right.
I'm not trying to destroy mutants. My only purpose is my kid. Am I doing anything to fuck with your Krakoa? Not a damn thing. Am I working on projects to fuck with Krakoa? Not a damn thing. I'm only concentrating on my kid. And you want to come in there and rape my mind. This is rape, by the way. Right? This is rape. It's unintended. You go into my mind. It's exactly what rape is. You rape me, and then you tell me you can't tell nobody I raped you. That's what Professor X did. Am I wrong?
Oh,
I think it's taking a little
classified
far.
as rape.
But
No. Oh, wait. So in other words, if I go into your mind and change how you identify as a male or female, that's rape. If I go into your mind, you have a right to privacy.
All he did was take away the.
Okay, it's mine. You're gonna get to take that. How you gonna fucking take? It's mine. It's in here, right? Some shit I invented in my head. It's not even written anywhere. It's in here. You're gonna go in my mind and take my thoughts? It's not yours. You don't have a right to it under any circumstances. That's rape. If I take an egg out of your mom, if your wife, right? She got plenty, she'll be all right. That's rape. I don't care if I beam it out of her. It's still rape. That's what mind rape is. That was rape. Professor Xavier's a rapist. I'm going to bring that shit up again.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, man. All right. So,
okay, well, tell me, so it's not possible to rape someone's mind? It's not all sexual. Rape is about the invasiveness. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
right? And it's one thing to rape and they don't remember, but it's rape and like, motherfucker, I raped you. Every time you think about that shit again, you gonna remember me. That's some super villain shit. Right?
All he did was
Right.
was make
Professor Xavier need to die, and I hope he burn in hell. All he did was a little rape. Are you really trying to tell me it was a little rape? Are you trying? Wait, did you really say? Was you really going there?
No,
was it a little rape?
all I was gonna say was all he did was take away bits and pieces.
Okay,
of what,
did he go? Okay, in my mind, did he reach into his mind without my consent? Did he reach into my mind without my consent?
all he
Did he
did,
take
all,
something that was mine? Did he take something that belonged to me, my thoughts, from me without my consent?
All he did was erase.
Did he
all
change
he
while
did-
he was in there? No, wait. Don't make it as a little. Did he go in there and change it so that I can't think that same way anymore without my consent?
He
Did he do all
he
three of those things?
erased. He erased parts.
Okay,
of
wait.
the
Am I wrong? Just tell me
technology.
the things I said. Did he do that? Did he go in my mind without my consent? Did he take my thoughts without my consent? Yes.
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
Okay, so he read into my mind without my consent. That's the rape. He took something from me that I can never get back
Oh, gosh.
without my consent. That's a further definition of rape, right? And then he told me about it.
But if it's a device that can be used,
No, wait, hold up. If the person that created the nuclear bomb thought of it first, any device, the guy who created the fucking knife, the table knife,
right?
you know what I'm saying? You don't fucking take that away because it can be used. Get the fuck out of here. Whoever invented the old school phone, I can take that phone and smash somebody's head in, right? And it's big enough to do that. Shit happens in movies. You don't fucking take his thoughts away because it can be used. That's bullshit. You borderline on this rapist shit.
That's a leap. That's a leap.
Right? So because it's a leap to say
Yes.
I'm allowed to go in your mind and take your thoughts because what you're thinking about could be a problem.
I think that Xavier telling him
Minority
and
Report?
not erasing the memory of him erasing that technology from his brain was actually the right thing to do.
Okay, so going into his brain is okay. You're okay with that. That
He's-
invading his brain without his will, that
he's-
is okay. I'm just gonna go step by step.
But
Yes,
read his left.
I'm not asking why. I'm
read his-
asking.
Read his
I'm not
left.
asking why. That's your business. I'm not asking why you raped. I'm asking if you raped. Going into his mind without his consent, is that okay? Is that acceptable?
If you've created something that could
No,
potentially
no. No, it's no if. There's a law. Is my mind sacrosanct? Is my genital sacrosanct? Can you go up my ass without my consent? Because I might shit badly. I might shit something that's gonna fuck up the world. But you don't know until you go up my ass, right? So because here's the thing, you don't know what I did until you already invaded me, right?
Hello,
so here's
kids.
what you have
Welcome.
to. Yeah, welcome, kids. You have to violate me. Here's the thing, you have to violate me to even find that out. Am I wrong? There's no way he would have known that unless he violated me. Right? That's like saying, I'm going to break into your house, find the evidence that will justify why I broke in your house.
I'm looking for.
And it's there.
I'm looking for. There's dialogue.
Come with it, come with it, come with it. Rapist, 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 rapist. Let me go. While you doing that, I'm going to go into the essence of what a rapist is so that we can be on the same page. Go ahead and find your freaking dialogue.
Let's just move on.
Ah! Okay, we're moving on.
Emmanuel,
Good
your
pick.
first book of the week.
All right, my first book. Let me see. Got thrown all the way off. All right, so The Multiversity, Pax Americana, issue number 1. What really drew me to this comic, before I knew anything about it, before I knew that it was Grant Morrison's response to Alan Moore's Watchmen, there was a panel where you see a Dr. Manhattan type character. I didn't know anything about this particular character. I think it's called Captain Atom.
Yeah.
Captain Atom, and he's talking about time, and he's reading a comic book, and he's talking about how 2D, the 2D expression, he can flip through the pages, and the characters themselves are unaware, completely unaware of his scrutiny. He can see their origin, he can see the end of the story, and these characters are just there. And he said, just imagine what your 3D reality looks like to me. This is 2D, but imagine how if I'm not 3D, just as you are 3D, imagine how I can perceive you. I can perceive time. And I'm aware of Dr. Manhattan. I'm aware of his non-linear view of time and space as well. But that was done and articulated in such a way to where, like, I really, really like this character. I like Captain Atom more so than Dr. Manhattan. So this, I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to hear you guys' perspectives. But in comparison to The Watchmen, this, I think I like this more. Maybe sacrilegious. Others might stone me for saying that, but I like this one more than I do The Watchmen. What do you guys?
Well, my understanding of The Watchmen is that it was made based on these heroes to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Atom is an old school hero. Captain Atom was in Justice League animated series. Captain Atom has been around for decades. And there is quantum and time entanglement, and there's been some rewrites lately where he showed those powers. Rorschach was definitely based on the Question.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not blasphemy. It's if anything, The Watchmen is blasphemy in that it took those characters. When you think about the Blue Beetle and his bug, and then you think about Owlman and his owl ship, you see very direct comparisons, right? So it makes sense that you use these characters. This definitely is a Watchmen take on the original characters that The Watchmen was based on to some extent, right? I don't know if every character one for one is included here.
Right.
Definitely Frank Quietly. That's his ass all over. Definitely some blood and murder and break down every blood vessel, corpuscle, all that stuff is there, right? I like the idea of this, but for me, is high-minded the right word? This is an intellectual book.
Yeah, this is
right. This is not for kids. There's a lot of concepts here that you can't just pick this up like you pick up a Superman book. You can't pick this up like you pick up a Spider-Man book. You can't get through it with that kind of mindset, right? You can't Suicide Squad your way through this stuff. This is some mental shit, right?
Right.
So if you don't know that going in, do not fuck with this book at all, right? Because this book actually requires you to think to get through it.
Yeah.
Right? And truth be told, when I first read this book, I wasn't medicated enough to properly partake in all of it. I like the art. This is Frank Quietly, so you either like his art or you don't, right? You know his backgrounds tend to be stark as fuck, right? But he will put some extra lines on the face. You know what I mean? He will put some extra lines on the things that you need to pay attention to. But everything else, he ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Right. That's sort of my viewpoint on Frank White. In that respect, so if you were looking for a deep ass book, this is it. If you're looking for the art that really only cares about the things that are important to the story, this is it.
Yeah.
If you don't, I used to be a teacher, and I would talk to a lot of teachers, and they were like, when I get home, I don't like to think. I watch BS on television because I've been thinking all day and I'm tired. Right. So, and I get that. I'm not like that, but I get that. This book requires you to think. If you buy your comic books and you ain't really trying to think that hard, don't fuck with this book. Right? And this is sort of an out of continuity thing. It's its own sort of contained story. Right? So you don't have to be familiar with these characters that much, just a tertiary. And remember, these are characters that didn't normally initially belonged to DC. They were purchased by DC.
Yeah.
Blue Beetle, all these other characters belonged to a different comic book company before DC bought them. And it is those characters and everyone here, right? Except for, Blue Beetle is in it too. But Blue Beetle is an offshoot of the original character that, again, came from that other comic company. So what I what I like about the book is its depth, but you got to be ready to read that, right? Sit down. Don't You can't read this book and have the TV on
Mm-mm.
or be listening to Spotify at the same time. If you the kind of person that deludes yourself into thinking multitasking works, this is going to be proof that shit does not. Right? Uh, so I like the detail of the art. I like the detail of the murder and the blood and the corpuscles and the teeth falling out of the mouth and every little thing that's there that's important. I found that to be very fetching. I enjoyed it. I like the depth of the story. If, like, for some people, we discussed an earlier book in which there wasn't enough story because there was too much art. But in this book, there's more story than there is art by far,
Yes.
right? And so it's okay that Frank quietly didn't draw your background you wanted because you got so much story, you ain't got time for that, right? So I feel like this is sort of the opposite of that in that respect. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Would I recommend it? No, because I don't know a lot of people that like high-minded comics. I say this is a read. What do you think?
I would say this is a buy because this is something that you can come back to. Even if you don't get it the first time, you can definitely pick it up again and find new stuff in it. Grant Morrison has said, and I'll see if I can find the article so that we can link to it, but pretty sure Grant Morrison has said that this is his
Watchmen?
his magnum opus, his Citizen Kane. I don't think that it's quite long enough to encompass everything that he wanted to do or everything he set out to do in this book. But yeah, this is definitely his version of Watchmen, and he's said too. He thinks that Alan Moore would have pitched this as Watchmen if it had been done, post 2001. So I mean, with that framework, go ahead.
Oh, I agree with all those things you said. But Watchmen isn't for everyone, right?
Right.
Is it a classic book? Yes. There's a lot of classic, say, X-Men books, but X-Men ain't for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So
Very true.
Right, and so in a lot of books that we pitch, a lot of them we like to think they're for everyone. This is not. This is a niche comic, right? And it will not have value to everyone. It will not, some people like Rock'em Sock'em and Stupid Peter Parker, right? Some people just want, some comedy and some fun, right? Some people want to see amazing feats of strength and speed, right? Most of this story takes place in your head, in your own head, right? Not necessarily on the page, because the story it gives you the keys and then you go in here and you work with them. And this is ingenious. Right? Don't get me wrong. This is ingenious. This is very well written, but I think it's not for most comic readers.
Not for
right?
most.
There's a lot of books out there that have a lot of value, right? And I know this book didn't do well in the comic stores, right? It's not for most comic readers. It's not why most people read comics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly care for Frank Quitely's work. I don't think that he's a good artist. My own personal opinion, I think he kind of fucked up Morrison's X-Men run because the art is so bad in some of those panels that it takes away from the story. So this is not one that I would have picked up if I just thumbed through it. But having all of the stuff that surrounds it, everything that Morrison has said about why he wrote the book and what he thinks of the work and how much of himself he put into it, and the fact that it is, like a new generation Watchmen, but uses the old characters, like you were saying, a lot of the characters from Watchmen were sort of drawn from these characters, right? I don't know. I think it's a buy. I think it's one to have on the shelf. It's one to own just because I think that if it's not something for you right now, it can be something for you later. I think it's something you can grow into. So
agreed.
Yeah,
maybe you prefer slapstick, silly,
or Avengers foolish.
Right.
Doctor Strange foolish.
Right. Maybe that's your meat and potatoes, and that's what you like to
I
read.
think it reads like a novel. I think, you know what I'm saying? And this is not a bad thing. I enjoyed the book,
Yeah.
but everyone that collects, they sort of collect what they like. They collect by artists sometimes, or collect by stories that move them. But they don't buy books that may move them later. You know what I mean? Not intentionally, right? They buy books that move them now. Like I'll go back and collect an old comic book that I remember affected me, right?
Yeah.
And to run around that. But if this doesn't affect you outright, it may have value to some people, but there's no, if you already are not inclined, you may never be. All right. Like I said, I think it's great. I don't know if I want to have it on my shelf, but I know that if I had it, I would revisit it. I just don't think that, and I think the comic sales prove that. I don't think that this is it's certainly not a mainstream book. And when I mean by mainstream, what most people like and enjoy and keep buying them.
Yeah.
So does it have value as a story if you are a collector of art? And I don't mean just physical art, but the writing, the art? Yes. Is it for the mainstream comic audience? No. And if I hand this to someone, I'm not going to get them into comics with this book. I may get, but if they're into sci-fi and the novels and that sort of thing, they might. If they're into heavy metal, they might. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the rest of it, so I would say less than half of the comic readers are going to enjoy this book, which is why I chose it not to be a buy.
Okay.
But for those people that are into this, it's very much a fucking buy. But again, I think it's more niche.
One of the things that really got me after I read it and reread it was the idioms. There's a scene, or there's a few panels where he's having a conversation. Two people are having a conversation, and you know the breaks and the fadeaways in movies where you'll say something and then the transition would be for that very same thing.
Mm-hmm.
This was the same thing here. There's a dialogue where older guy is talking to a younger woman, and off panel, it's one door open, and then it goes to the door, another one open, or one door closes and another one opens to actually go through a door.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about rock bottom. They're at the bottom of the page or the bottom of the panel. And then he's talking about applying pressure metaphysically to something else, and he's actually pressing a button. So those little subtle things like that, I really appreciate. And it's not heavy-handed. It's just subtly.
And that is all in the writing, right? Because the writer tells what happens in each panel.
Yeah, he
that is definitely speaks to Grant Morrison, which, by the way, I guess we all like.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison is a great writer, without a doubt. But I like sci-fi. I like to be called upon to think, right? So I have no problem with that. But we also have friends that they ain't really trying to think that dang much. Right. Why are you trying to give me this comic book? I ain't trying to read. I'm trying to enjoy a comic book.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I feel it's niche and it's great value in it. Even Watchmen was niche before the movie, right? Only a certain type of people really went for that, right? And then the movie did its thing, and then it got revisited, but most people aren't watching it. And then but I do know that once they had that just recent series, a lot of people have gone back to the animated graphic novel. So it's sort of brought, but over time, it's in the mainstream, but most comic book readers are still probably not going to read it. I feel like the same as that here. But for me, I personally had a lot of value. But if I were to recommend it to someone else, if they weren't niche, then I would say read it.
You know, it's funny. I feel like this is probably in the same vein, and ironically, because Watchmen is Alan Moore. Morrison obviously takes a lot from Alan Moore. Is a heavy inspiration for him. But I feel like V for Vendetta is one of those too. Like I have that sitting on my shelf. I've gone through it multiple times. If I were to recommend it to somebody, though, I'd say just watch the movie, because it's one of those, like it is kind of difficult to get into, especially a full graphic novel. And I feel like it's probably a little easier to absorb some of the themes and things that it tries to get across in movie form. So
Yeah,
I
and
could,
I say for people for Watchmen, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
no, I was gonna say I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For people for Watchmen, I would say do they did the animated comic,
yeah,
but the entire comic, I would say go there because you're going to
Yeah.
get the voices, you're going to get the movement, you're going to get the mood. There's even music in there to help you understand it more than just reading the panels and the pages, right? How you should feel, what I want you to get from it.
yeah.
So I would say, and yet I probably own the original Watchmen graphic novel somewhere. But I don't go back to it very often, right? It's nice to have if I'm a collector. I don't show it to people because what do they care, right? But I will send a link to the digital, and you can, if I'm in the DC streaming service, which is apparently going to go away, but you can go back and you can watch that entire animated comic. And I think it's good for a collector, but not mainstream. That is the only reason I don't agree with your buy thing. But if we're all like you, for us three, it might be a buy. I don't
Yeah.
know if Emmanuel agrees that it's a buy.
Of course.
Oh, most definitely a buy.
Okay.
Most assuredly, it's a buy.
And I don't know if our audience, because they don't talk to us as much as we like, I don't know if our audience agrees with us with that. I'd like to hear more. Put the link in the comments. I've been talking a lot of shit today. Come at me, bro. I think when it comes to the mainstream conversation, because a lot of times we pick mainstream books,
Yeah.
right? And it's easy to say buy or pass with a mainstream book. With this, I feel like I have to err on the side of it's not mainstream enough, but it's worth your time to read. And it's probably available in the library. I bet you could download the animated comic legally for free in a library right now and watch it on your screen.
Probably, yeah. All right.
Hey,
Any final thoughts, I guess, on Pax Americana?
I said all my shit, so you guys go ahead.
All right, Manuel, your second issue.
all right, second issue is Once and Future, again by Boom Studios. And I stumbled upon this. This was interesting. It's a story of, this is issue number 9. So a little bit of a backstory. There's an monster hunter. She's in a retirement home, but she escapes. Her name is Bridget McGuire. She escapes and pulls her grandson, who's a grown man, and a museum curator, into a world of like magic and mysticism to defeat these legendary beasts. It's kind of reminiscent of what is this television series that was on about monster hunters? It's titled. It gets its title from these two brother Grimm. That's it. Brothers Grimm. So it kind of reminds me of Grimm in that you see these monsters of lore. They come about and they're these beasts and villains. This one is Beowulf, or issue number 9, but you have others that the monster hunters have to kill. So I like those types of monsters of myth and legend in up-to-date stories. What did you guys think?
I think it's a nice, lighthearted way to end the week. The artwork's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. This is one of those books that I see on the shelf Wednesday when it comes out, and then I don't ever see it again. However many issues my local shop orders, they sell out of them, and this book seems to do really well. So I know that it's a popular book, and to that effect, like I feel like one of the reasons I never got into this is because I missed the number 1 issue. I didn't know what was going on. But I appreciate, Emmanuel, that you kind of just threw issue number 9 at us, because now I know that I can just pick this up, and you don't really have to know a whole lot about what's going on. It's kind of just a fun romp, and it throws stuff at you that you get from other pop culture references or from history, right? You've got Beowulf, who's the villain here. At the end of the book, I think they throw at us who is this? Grendel. right? So Grendel is going to be, in the next issue, and it's all part of that lore. Um, so I think this was a fun book. I didn't really, I mean, honestly, after the Multiversity and Pax Americana, I wasn't thinking too hard reading this
Mhm.
because that one's pretty deep. But yeah, I mean, I like that Merlin shows up and he's evil, and what's going on with that. Um, it's a fun book, great art. I might check out some of the other issues.
So to take from the book, The Once and Future King, the actual book which I read, I knew this was a King Arthur story going in.
Yeah,
I knew there was Merlin and all these other things was going to be part of it. But I didn't. Just like Matt, this existed in my periphery, but I never stepped into it. So thank you also for bringing that into our must see. I liked this book. It was kind of fun. It was kind of interesting, and because I know who Merlin is, and I knew Merlin in every incarnation has always had some underhanded sneakiness happening. And who's to say whether Merlin was ever evil or good? So that part makes sense, and then to weave into it all the monsters of lore, of British lore, like Grendel and all these other things, is another way to keep that conversation ongoing. Made me think: is this main character? Is he an incarnation of who's the Knights of the Round Table guy? I can't remember the
Arthur.
actual
Arthur.
Arthur. Is he incarnation King Arthur? Does he know it? Does he not know it? Is he just being used by his grandmother? All these things were pretty interesting. And again, it's like picking up an Archie book. I already know who Archie is,
Yeah.
so I ain't got to worry about is this who are these people? No, I kind of already know. I know Archie is basically a pimp and get all the women in the books, and I know that going forward, right? Regardless of how nice he is. So in this book, I knew it was a King Arthur kind of book. For this issue itself, I found it enjoyable. It was lighthearted enough, yet there were things at stake. Actually, showing Merlin made me a little more interested because you want to know. In every history retelling of King Arthur, no one ever really knows Merlin's motives, I believe. Right? You kind of
Yeah.
have an idea, right? No one ever really, Merlin in theory knows everything. So whatever pain you feel, Merlin wanted you to feel it, right? Merlin is kind of a bastard like that.
Mhm.
And he already knew, so your suffering is irrelevant. And yet he's still there when you need him, and he can be your counsel. So what I thought, what if Merlin is the good guy in all this?
Okay.
And then that would be interesting. He may be acting like a bastard, but so what? Some good guys are bastards. You know what I mean? And if you have to do what it takes to save the world, some people got to die, right? Am I wrong? I mean, is there any other way in history of mankind? Saving the world requires there be blood. And so you need those people who can make those hard decisions. And Merlin's my guy for that.
I could.
I am interested in this book. I very likely will go back and read some other issues. I may even go back to the beginning. It's early enough. So I would say, based on this book and what I saw, that it is likely a buy. But I would say start at the beginning.
Yeah, I would say this is a read. Maybe a buy if you fall into it. Add it to your collection. Um, there's some unexpected humor too. One of my
Yes.
favorite panels is one where he says, "You talked Vickers into blessing a landmine," and then the end of her thing is, "I didn't say anything about Christian." So, like, what kind of priest would bless a landmine? I love the idea
Yeah.
of that.
And so and all those things and that darkness and that fighting monsters, if this is what this series is, then I think you should read this series.
Yes, indeed. Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was quite a lively episode
Yes.
this week, for sure. And we went over the hour mark. We're almost at 90 minutes.
Okay.
So it's a long one, too.
Mhm.
Do we have anything in the show notes that we want to talk about?
And we can all this that can wait, I think.
Okay.
until, I mean, we're already over the 90-minute mark. I don't want to push our viewers over the edge.
All right.
But your choice. I'll talk about whatever you say. You know me. You got another 15 minutes?
So, no, I think we'll leave it there. Wrap it up. Buy, read, pass. I think that's going to be something that we do in the future for all the issues that we talk about. I kind of like the idea of deciding whether or not, it is a buy, read, or pass, right? Because you can always go to the comic shop, and most comic shops are cool about you just hanging out for a few minutes and reading a few books, even if you don't buy them. So, or you can do like Russ does and just sneak into a Barnes and Noble, buy one latte, and hang out for the afternoon, right? But any final things before we head out?
Regardless of the books you guys put out, I am still not an X-Men fan.
It's because the Savior is an evil rapist.
I was hesitant to bring that up.
I mean, why should you be a fan of led by an evil rapist? And I understand. You shouldn't be a fan of that. Just walk away.
And on that note, we're out.
Is there an X-Men character that's some kind of bodily fluid?
Actively, because I think Toad just has pores that are open. His body's naturally sticky.